In the outskirts of Kisumu, Kenya, December 1993, rain was falling gently around a large colonial-style mansion. 8-year-old Zawadi Nyong'o sat by her second-floor bedroom window, gazing at the pristine rain-drenched garden. Christmas was just 2 days away. Though a grand Christmas tree stood decorated in the living room downstairs, she had no memory of ever decorating it together as a family. Expensive African paintings adorned her bedroom walls, with intricately carved wooden furniture crowding the space. Everything had been chosen according to her mother Akila's taste, with no consideration for an 8-year-old girl's preferences. The only thing that brought Zawadi comfort was her worn stuffed lion, which sat on her bed. "Miss Zawadi, I've brought you some chai," came the gentle voice of Mama Akyeng, the maid. The girl turned around. In her mid-50s, Mama Akyeng was the only person in the house who showed Zawadi any affection. With her carefully styled gray hair and a neat kaiting apron, she carried herself with quiet dignity. "Thank you, Mama Akyeng," Zawadi said, as she accepted the warm drink. Zawadi noticed her mother Akila's voice drifting up from downstairs. "Oh yes, of course, I'll be attending the gala. I'm planning to wear my new Ankara dress. Mrs. Atieno will be there too, so appearances are everything," her mother said, her elegant laughter echoing through the house. More talk of social gatherings as usual. For her father Omari, a real estate company executive, and her mother, a prominent socialite, time with their daughter was merely an afterthought. Maintaining the appearance of a perfect family in Kisumu's high society was her parents' primary concern. Omari hosted weekly meetings with clients at the country club, while Akila served on the board of various charity organizations. The Nyong'o name appeared without fail in the society pages of the local newspaper. Mama Akyeng noticed the girl's lonely expression and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Would you like to help me fry mandazi tomorrow? Making Christmas treats was such fun last year, wasn't it?" Zawadi's eyes lit up at those words. The memory of frying the sweet pastries with Mama Akyeng last Christmas while her parents vacationed in Nairobi remained one of her most cherished memories. However, she didn't yet know that this joy would be short-lived. Dark shadows were already creeping around the mansion. Every night, shouting could be heard from her father Omari's study behind the heavy wooden door adorned with intricate carvings. His anguished voice leaked through. "What do you mean the deadline has passed?" His face contorted at the voice on the other end of the phone. Stacks of bills covered his desk, the red letters of collection notices casting ominous shadows in the study's light. A failed real estate investment minus 10 million Kenyan shillings in debt. Her father had invested heavily in what he thought was a promising redevelopment project, but the market crash had turned everything to dust. Now the threatening letters from debt collectors were increasing day by day. Behind their outwardly glamorous lifestyle, the Nyong'o family was rapidly heading toward collapse. Mother Akila immersed herself in ever more luxurious shopping as if to escape reality. New bags, jewelry, fur coats, and designer dresses costing hundreds of thousands of shillings hung in the dressing room, still with their tags attached. Credit card bills kept piling up in Omari's desk drawer. The servants quit one after another due to delayed wages. Once numbering over 10, now only the cook and Mama Akyeng remained. Mama Akyeng stayed out of concern for Zawadi. She never mentioned the unpaid wages and instead took even more care of the little girl. "That child is innocent," Mama Akyeng had confided to the cook. "She's the only light in this house." Then one night, Zawadi accidentally overheard her parents' conversation in her father's study. Standing in the dark hallway, the girl froze. "And 20 million shillings. That would solve everything. But could we really? We have no choice. If we don't get it by next week, it's all over. But shut up. This happened because of your wasteful spending." They were talking about their daughter's life insurance. Zawadi couldn't understand the meaning of their conversation. Only the strange tension in her parents' voices remained as anxiety in her young heart. Her nightmares became more frequent. On the night of December 22nd, her father suddenly announced they would go to Mount Kenya as a family. "That's right, Zawadi. There's a surprise for you tomorrow," her father said, his eyes gleaming hollowly. Her mother handed her daughter a new camera with a strained expression. The expensive SLR camera was brand new, straight from the box. "This will make wonderful memories." Zawadi didn't yet know the cruel plan hidden behind those words. The rainy scene visible from the mansion's windows silently enveloped everything like a dark shroud. On what would be her last night, Zawadi dreamed of helping Mama Aking fry mandazi, a promise she would never fulfill. On December 23, 1993, at 7:15 a.m., the sun was beginning to rise over Mount Kenya National Park, Kenya. The summit area of Lenana Point was covered in fresh snow from overnight. In the bitter cold, the morning light illuminated the Nyong-o family's black Land Rover. Father Omari was in the driver's seat, Mother Akila in the passenger seat, and Zawadi in the back. It was a rare family outing that would never normally occur. "Aren't you cold?" There was an unfamiliar tremor in her mother's voice. Despite wearing her heavy chitinge wrap, she was shaking abnormally. "I'm fine," Mama Zawadi answered from within the scarf Mama Aking had knitted for her the night before. "But why are we leaving so early?" "We'll see a beautiful view." Her father's voice was oddly cheerful. The knuckles of his hands gripping the steering wheel were white. "You'll be able to take sunrise photos." The car climbed the steep mountain road. Zawadi carefully held her new camera. The lens had anti-fog coating, and high-sensitivity film was loaded. The batteries were new, a perfectly prepared camera. At 8:30 a.m., they arrived at an observation point at about 10,000 feet elevation. There wasn't a single other car in the parking lot. The Nyong-o family got out of the car in the biting wind. "There's a scenic spot this way." Her father started walking, holding a map. He left the maintained walkway for a narrow path marked with no entry signs. Her mother followed silently behind. "Dad, isn't this dangerous?" "Don't worry." Zawadi, her father's voice echoed in the frozen air. "You're a special girl." They stopped at a spot about 500 meters off the walkway. A deep gorge opened up below them. Standing at the edge of the cliff, the bottom was invisible. "Let's take a photo here," her father said. "Move closer to the edge." The girl did as she was told, approaching the cliff's edge. The cold wind cut at her cheeks. Her mother stood several meters back, face turned away. That's when Zawadi noticed something in her father's eyes. It wasn't love or kindness. It was emptiness. "You're worthless." Zawadi, her father's voice had changed, cold and mechanical. Then came the strong sensation of being pushed from behind. Zawadi's body slowly tilted forward. She heard her mother scream in the distance as she fell toward the gorge bottom. Strangely, time seemed to move in slow motion. The mandazi she had promised to fry with Mama Achenga, she would never be able to make them now. Such thoughts crossed her mind. Help! With an unvoiced scream, Zawadi's body tumbled down the snow-covered gorge. Just before falling into the thicket 30 meters below, the camera strap caught on a rock protrusion. The shutter clicked. The flash fired. As consciousness faded, the intermittent shutter sounds continued, as if calling for help. Park Ranger Kioni Mongei noticed those flashes about 40 minutes after the incident. "Juma, there's something flashing over there," he said to his wife, also a park ranger. The Mwangi couple, experienced in rescue operations, were on their regular patrol near Mount Kenya. Kioni's instincts kicked in. Could it be a person? He wondered aloud. The rescue operation was extremely challenging. Sub-zero temperatures, steep slopes, and thick snow made every step treacherous. But Kioni and Juma didn't give up. Using safety ropes and calling on their years of experience, they descended the perilous cliff. Upon reaching the site, they found Zawadi alive but unconscious. "She has a pulse." Juma exclaimed, her voice trembling with relief. But she's dangerously cold for the next 15 minutes. Until the rescue helicopter arrived, Juma used her body heat to keep the girl warm, shielding her from the biting winds. At the hospital, the diagnosis was grim severe hypothermia, multiple fractures in her arm and leg, full body bruises and abrasions, and deep psychological trauma. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly in the emergency room to save Zawadi's life. Meanwhile, the police began their investigation. Omari's explanation that Zawadi had accidentally fallen while trying to take a photograph raised suspicions. Something about his demeanor felt off to Detective Matata, who had been assigned to the case. However, there was no victim testimony, no eyewitnesses, and insufficient physical evidence to prove foul play. 48 hours later, the Nyong'o couple vanished. Their colonial-style mansion was left empty, creditors descending on it like vultures. No one knew the couple's whereabouts, and debt collectors found little of value in their deserted home. In her hospital room, Zawadi lay silently, staring at the ceiling. Her memories of the fall were fragmented, but her father's final words, "You're worthless," replayed endlessly in her mind. The emotional scars ran deeper than the physical ones. Juma Momangi visited Zawadi daily, bringing fresh food, flowers, and a comforting presence to the injured girl. Her husband Kayoni often accompanied her, offering quiet support. The couple, who had no children of their own, quickly grew attached to Zawadi. One day, Juma gently took Zawadi's hand. "We've spoken to the authorities. If you're willing, we'd love for you to come live with us," she said. Tears filled Zawadi's eyes as she nodded. A week later, she left the hospital to begin her new life with the Mangi family. The Mangi home, a modest but warm bungalow on the outskirts of Meru, felt like a sanctuary compared to the cold grandeur of her parents' mansion. Zawadi was given a cozy room filled with books, soft quilts, and even a small sewing machine that Juma had borrowed from a neighbor. Healing wasn't easy. Zawadi often woke up crying from nightmares, and sudden panic attacks became a regular occurrence. But Juma and Kayoni were patient, never rushing her recovery. "You are not worthless," Juma would tell her often. "You have a light in you that no one can take away." Zawadi found solace in the evening she spent with Juma in their small sewing room. Juma taught her to stitch simple patterns, encouraging her to express herself through creativity. By her 13th birthday, Zawadi had developed an impressive talent for sewing. "This fabric is beautiful," Juma said one evening, handing her a piece of vibrant kaitinge cloth. "Let's see what you can create with it." Over the next few years, Zawadi blossomed under the Mangi family's care. In high school, she joined a fashion club and began designing dresses for her classmates. Her creations, a fusion of modern and traditional African styles, quickly gained popularity. By the time she graduated, Zawadi had become known throughout the community for her talent. Juma and Kayoni were immensely proud of her. "You've turned your pain into something beautiful," Juma said, watching Zawadi sketch one of her designs. After high school, Zawadi earned a scholarship to a prestigious fashion school in Nairobi. She immersed herself in her studies, learning everything she could about design and business. Through Juma's connections, Zawadi secured internships with renowned Kenyan fashion houses, gaining valuable experience. By the time she was 22, Zawadi had opened her first boutique in downtown Nairobi. She named it Neota Designs, a tribute to her journey. On opening day, Juma and Kayoni stood proudly at her side, tears streaming down their faces. "You've made us so proud," Kayoni said, his voice thick with emotion. Neota Designs quickly became a success, attracting clients from across Kenya and beyond. Zawadi's unique blend of traditional African fabrics and contemporary styles struck a chord with customers. At 25, she opened a second store in Mombasa. At 27, a third in Kisumu. By 30, her brand had expanded internationally, with boutiques in Johannesburg, Lagos, and London. Major fashion magazines hailed her as a rising star, a pioneer of modern African design. In December 2021, Zawadi celebrated the 10th anniversary of Neota Designs at her flagship store in Nairobi. The event was a grand affair, attended by politicians, celebrities, and business leaders. Zawadi, now 36, looked radiant in a tailored black dress with a bold chitinge wrap. As she mingled with the guests, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. But just as the festivities reached their peak, the store's front door opened and two figures entered. It was Omari and Akila Nyong-o. The years had not been kind to them. Living on the run, using false names, and engaging in fraudulent schemes had taken their toll. Omari looked frail and haggard, his once sharp features now lined with wrinkles. Akila, once the picture of elegance, was barely recognizable. Her clothes were worn, and her once confident demeanor was replaced by desperation. Zawadi watched them from across the room, her emotions swirling. Anger, sadness, and something like pity filled her heart. Slowly, she approached them. "Do you remember me?" she asked, her voice calm and steady. Omari and Akila froze, their faces pale. Omari stammered, but no words followed. Zawadi led them to a private room, where she offered them seats on a plush sofa. She poured 2 glasses of water and sat across from them. "I have the photographs from that day," she said quietly. Her parents exchanged nervous glances. Zawadi opened a folder containing evidence collected by Detective Matata years earlier. "I won't take this to the authorities," she said. "But you will leave my life and never return." Akila began to cry, while Omari hung his head in silence. Without another word, they stood and left. Zawadi watched them disappear into the bustling streets of Nairobi. Turning back, she saw Juma and Kayoni waiting for her. "Are you okay?" Juma asked gently. Zawadi smiled. "Yes, I am," she said, "because I have my real family." That night, as the party continued, Zawadi stepped outside to look at the city lights. Wrapping herself in a soft shawl that Juma had sewn for her, she raised a glass to toast her journey. After years of struggle, she had truly found her freedom at last. This powerful tale teaches us that no matter how dark and painful our beginnings may be, perseverance, hard work, and a compassionate support system can lead us to incredible heights. Zawadi's journey exemplifies the transformative power of resilience and forgiveness. Despite facing unimaginable betrayal and adversity, she chose to rise above her trauma, turning her pain into strength and her creativity into success. Moreover, Zawadi's decision to confront her parents with dignity, rather than vengeance, highlights the importance of maintaining self-respect and choosing peace over revenge. Her actions demonstrate that true wealth lies in finding peace within oneself and cherishing the family and relationships that truly nurture and support us. Ya Allah, the most merciful and compassionate, we seek your guidance and strength in the face of trials and betrayals. Grant us the courage to overcome hardships and turn our pain into purpose, as Zawadi did. Bless us with the wisdom to forgive those who have wronged us and surround us with people who genuinely care for our well-being. Ya Allah, grant us the ability to recognize our true worth and to use our talents for the betterment of ourselves and others. Protect us from despair, guide our hearts toward resilience, and fill our lives with love, kindness, and success. Ameen.